All right, welcome to the relationship show. This guy writes his post, Men and Makeup. He says, I'm wondering how the women here feel about men using makeup, particularly in combination with online dating. Well, dude, I mean, look at society. Look at what society does with men and women. It's like men don't typically wear makeup and women do. I mean, why is this? Well, it's because how attraction works. It's basically like, well, men are more visual. And so it's like looks make a big difference. Women oftentimes fall in love through their ears. So being masculine and being strong and showing up as a leader and, fulfilling her needs and having fun together and having that well, certainty and variety, and then just having like yeah, I mean, it's just about having those qualities, having the polarity, so feminine, masculine stuff. So it's like if a masculine guy shows up, his masculinity is going to be more important than looks. But he says, I have particular bad skin and I'd quite like to use foundation and concealer for pictures and the first few dates. She's gonna notice, dude. I mean, if you're wearing makeup first day, it's like, I would say avoid that for sure. Like if it's for like your job, like some kind of news anchor and stuff like that, where it's like a common practice and it's for a purpose of like your mission and stuff, maybe. But if she notices you're wearing makeup, what's that going to communicate? It communicates that you feel like you're not really comfortable with yourself and comfortable that you got acne. Man, I went through that. I had acne. I still got, I don't know if that's zit or not, but it's like, shit, I get zits sometimes. It's like, well, fuck, so what? It's like not the biggest deal. If you show up, that's a much bigger deal than having, pimples or little things like that. It's like, or like the perfect hairstyle or this or this or this. It's just like if you kind of act in this kind of like prissy kind of way, it doesn't come across as you being strong. If you don't come across as being strong, well, I mean, she can't really trust your masculine core. If she feels like you are weak, then she's not going to really feel safe and comfortable with you. And then women feeling safe is one of the biggest things that they need to feel. So it's like, and in order to feel safe, they need to feel like they're with someone who is comfortable in their masculinity and, doesn't give a shit that he's got, zits on his face or whatever. It doesn't look great or whatever. It's like, and that owns himself and what he does and his mission and where he's at and owns the faults in himself. If you go about this route, just expect to be tested on this for sure. So she's going to test your strength. So she's going to be like bringing this stuff up and how you're going to react will give her clues into how strong you are. And so if you go this route, really, really, really just expect to be tested a lot. And how to pass tests, well, you're probably wondering, well, how does that happen? So it's like she'll probably hint at things. That's how women communicate, oftentimes indirectly. So they'll say something and then see how you react. Your reaction gives them a lot of clues about who you are, how strong you are. So she's going to test in really three core ways. So it's like she's going to test if you are appreciating her. So if you're like noticing her, so she's going to say, hey, I got my nails done today. And then give you some kind of look and see how you react. She's not going to come out straight up and say, I did these nails to make you, get your attention or whatever. But that's what you need to give her. You need to give her your full attention. And then compliment her and acknowledge and praise her for the things that she does. She's going to talk about like test on being understood. So she's going to bring up things that were earlier in the relationship or in the date. So it's like if you're on a date and you're talking about something, then she brings up something you talked about in the date. She's testing if you are listening to her, if you understand her, if she feels like, she feels heard. She'll also test through like bringing up her problems. If you try to solve her problems, that fails her test of, really being understood, or at least just doesn't make her feel understood. And then another one is safety. So she's going to test your opinion. She's going to test if you're wearing makeup, she's going to test the shit out of that, dude. And so she's going to test how strong you are. If you lose your temper, fail. But the ways to pass tests and like stabs at you, well, there's 3 ways. So it's ignore it. If you ignore it and you're not already established as being masculine and strong, then ignoring it won't really help. It'll just basically provide no consequence and it'll probably just keep happening. But ignoring it is useful once you've already established that. It's very useful in that because it's like you don't really want to deal with all this conflict and you've already established that you don't have to. Probably from establishing that you can walk away from the relationship and you'll be just fine, and she knows that that's true. Another way is to basically combat her, or like if she's like shaming you, you shame her back. And so it's like if she brings up something, you know, along the lines of you not doing something, or why don't you ever do this? It's like, well, you combat her. Well, why don't you ever do this? Or why bring up some kind of failure that she has? And so that's another way to pass her test, because it basically shows that you're not going to basically cower when she attacks you. And then the third one is to not tolerate it. So you say, well, I'm not going to put up with this kind of attitude. And you tell her that too. So those are the 3 ways, and there's so many different things, so many different pickups and lines and whatever. You can kind of use those lines to pass her test. Just go through my videos. I go through them just when the time's right or when the situation calls for it, and you'll pick up some of those. And I'm constantly just like looking at more things to like comebacks and stuff to say. So wherever I see them, I'll just write them in my notes and then just kind of like go through them and then like have them prepared. So if a situation does come up, then I can just basically combat with some of those phrases that I just pick up, you know. And another thing is, if you have an attitude of like you can walk away and mean it, you'll start coming up with your own, just because that's who you are and that's who it's like your default. And so sometimes you'll just think of things on the spot, but only if you have that attitude that you can walk away and mean it and you're in your masculine. He says, however, I'm worried that women might be less tolerant of a man doing this than the other way around. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really align with attraction. So it's like she's not going to care as much about, you know, zits and stuff as far as compared to like a man caring about zits on a woman or something like that. It's just what it is, what it is. Just look at society to kind of reflect that. But it really communicates that you don't really understand how women are attracted to men. And so I would say, do not do this, dude, and just own who you are. And it's like, have an attitude to say, yeah, so what, I got acne or whatever. Assuming I'm doing a fairly good job of it, how would you feel, meaning putting makeup on, how would you feel if I suddenly turned up a few dates in looking far more tired, splotchy, and spotty than usual? Meaning after a few dates, taking off makeup, and then it's more the fact that you don't feel comfortable with yourself than it is how you look. Realize that, understand that, and act in accordance with that. What if you only found out the first time you saw my bathroom? How would you feel about a man wearing makeup as standard daily wear? I would feel like it would be, shows that it's kind of like a prissy way to go, man. It's like you don't really own yourself. And it could almost honestly be embarrassing too. It's like if you show up with at a party and you've got makeup on, and I don't know, it might be kind of an embarrassing situation. How should I broach discussing the topic? Should I even mention it at all? Keen to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I mean, I think it just violates the principle of, you know, how women are attracted to men. It's like the same thing with like guys thinking that if they post like shirtless pictures or whatever, then it's like, oh, women will be attracted to me if I just get in the best shape that I can and then have like this, post pictures of me. But all it really reflects is like, well, this guy's trying to prove himself because he doesn't feel comfortable with who he is. And so it's like in relation to in her perspective, a relation to how comfortable is this guy with himself and owning himself. Focus on just owning yourself. Just ditch the makeup, dude. It's like, what you'll realize is you'll get so much better results if you just own yourself and just stop trying to basically, trying to cover up your insecurities and your so-called faults and stuff. Instead, just own your faults. I know it can be difficult, but it's like, once you face those fears of owning your faults, it's like, man, the world opens up for you and you can act so much more confidently on dates.